In 1960s America, every major manufacturer had a muscle car. Dodge had something nobody saw coming. Dodge built a car that tripled its own sales forecast, got banned from NASCAR, and starred in one of the greatest car chases ever filmed. What followed would define American performance for a generation. And it started with a car that almost nobody wanted. Let's get into it. Number 1. The car that arrived late and almost missed the party. By 1966, the muscle car war was already in full swing. The Ford Mustang had been tearing up the roads for 2 years. The Pontiac GTO had already earned a reputation. Dodge was watching from the sidelines. What they delivered was a car with an identity problem. And the market noticed. The first-generation Charger was unlike anything Dodge had built before, and that was both its strength and its weakness. Built on the Dodge Coronet platform, the 1966 Charger introduced a sweeping fastback roofline, a full-width grille with hidden headlights, and 4 individual bucket seats with a full-length center console. Nobody else was doing any of that. Under the hood, buyers could go as mild as a 318 cubic inch V8 producing 230 horsepower, or as wild as the legendary 426 Hemi rated at 425 horsepower. The same engine winning races in a street car. But the public was confused. Luxury car? Muscle car? Grand Tourer? Dodge had not quite decided either. Only 37,000 units sold in 1966. A sales disappointment against everything the car had promised. Dodge had 2 choices: walk away or fix it. They chose to fix it, and the car they built next became one of the most recognizable shapes in American history. The first generation had asked the question. The second generation answered it with a shape nobody has forgotten since. Number 2. The shape that changed everything. A designer named Richard Sias was given one job: redesign the Charger, make it impossible to ignore. Dodge had already slated 35,000 units for production of the new 1968 model. The factory was ready, the tooling was set. Nobody could have predicted what happened when the public actually saw the car. The 1968 Charger arrived with a design so aggressive it stopped traffic, literally. Sias gave the car a double diamond profile the press immediately labeled Coke bottle styling. The body curved outward at the wheels and pulled inward at the doors. 4 circular taillights sat at the rear. Flying buttress pillars framed a recessed rear window. Nothing like it existed on the road. A new R/T badge, road/track, was introduced for the first time. It came standard with the 440 Magnum V8 and heavy-duty suspension. It was the first time Dodge officially made performance a brand identity, not just an option box. Dodge had planned for 35,000 sales. They moved 96,100, nearly 3 times the forecast. The Charger had crossed from product to cultural moment. Then it appeared in a movie, and the whole country lost its mind. The 1968 Charger had earned its place in history, but Dodge had not hit its ceiling yet. There was one more move left, and it came from a racetrack. The street was conquered, but there was a Hollywood camera crew about to make sure the entire world never forgot this car. Number 3. The movie that made the Charger immortal. A studio in Hollywood was filming a police thriller in San Francisco. They needed a villain's car, something that looked dangerous just sitting still, something that could hold its own against a Ford Mustang GT in a chase through city streets. The production team chose a 1968 Dodge Charger R/T. Nobody on set knew what that decision was about to do to the car's legend. The film was Bullitt. The chase scene lasted 10 minutes. It is still considered one of the greatest car chases ever filmed. The black Charger, aggressive, low, relentless through San Francisco's hills, went wheel to wheel with Steve McQueen's Mustang for 10 straight minutes. The Charger won every frame it was in on presence alone. Sales for the Charger did not just hold, they anchored. And years later, the General Lee, a 1969 model, repeated the trick on television for an entire generation of kids who had never even heard of Bullitt. 2 films, 2 generations, 1 shape. The Charger had done what no marketing campaign ever could. It had made itself into a character. The street was conquered. Dodge had one more fight, and this one was at 200 miles per hour. Pop culture was locked in, but on the NASCAR track, the Charger was still losing, and Dodge was about to do something no car manufacturer had ever done before. If you're into the engineering behind cars like this, subscribe, because this gets even crazier. Number 4. The winged thing that broke NASCAR. By 1968, the Charger RT was fast on the street. On the NASCAR track, it was a disaster. Wind tunnel testing revealed the problem. The recessed rear window and tunneled grille created lift at high speed. Drivers described the car as driving on glass above 170 miles per hour. Ford and Mercury were destroying them. So Dodge went back to the drawing board, and this time they brought in aerospace engineers. What came out of that process was one of the most radical production cars ever built, the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. Chrysler's engineers bolted an 18-inch sheet metal nose cone onto the front. At the rear, a 23-inch stabilizer wing was welded into the subframe. Testing showed the nose cone generated 1,200 pounds of downforce. The wing added another 600 pounds. The car that had floated at 170 miles per hour now planted itself. To homologate it for NASCAR, Dodge had to sell a minimum of 500 cars to the public. They built 503. Of those, only 70 came with the optional 426 Hemi. On March 24, 1970, at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, driver Buddy Baker turned a lap at 200.447 miles per hour in a Charger Daytona. The first closed-course lap over 200 miles per hour in NASCAR history. NASCAR's response was to ban the winged cars outright for the 1971 season. The only reason a car gets banned is because it was genuinely, completely too fast. The Charger had broken the speed barrier, but the world was about to change in a way Dodge could not race its way out of. The track was done. The street was legendary. And now the government, the insurers, and the oil markets were all moving in the same direction, against the muscle car. Number 5. The last stand of the muscle era. In 1971, Dodge introduced the third-generation Charger. The body was rounder, more refined. The brutal angular lines of the second generation had been softened. The Clean Air Act had passed. Insurance premiums on muscle cars were climbing fast. The oil crisis was 2 years away. The golden era was closing. Anyone who loved the second-generation Charger was watching the era they grew up in quietly disappear. Dodge did not go out quietly. The 1971 Charger still offered the 426 Hemi and 446 pack, the last year either engine would be available. The Ram Charger hood scoop, a vacuum-operated air intake that physically popped open under acceleration, was added as an option. The car still competed in NASCAR. By 1973, the Charger had grown longer and wider. Opera windows appeared. It was drifting toward personal luxury. But sales hit record numbers that year. Dodge had discontinued the competing Coronet two-door, and the Charger was the only option left in its class. The 1974 model was the last of the third generation. The 426 Hemi was gone. The 446 pack was gone. What it had started, however, was not. The Charger had already left something behind that nobody could take back. The engines were gone. The era was over. But the rules the Charger wrote were just getting started. Number 6. What the Charger actually changed. Every car that came after the Charger's golden years had to answer a question the Charger had asked first. Before 1968, aerodynamics was not a consideration in American production car design. Performance packages were bolt-ons. Pop culture was not a product strategy. The Charger changed every single one of those rules. in under a decade. The R/T badge concept, a factory-built performance identity as standard, not an afterthought, became the template every American manufacturer copied: SRT, SS, GT, SVT. All of it traces back to what the R/T badge meant in 1968. The Daytona's aerodynamic program forced NASCAR to write regulations specifically to contain one car. That had never happened before. It forced every manufacturer in the sport to take aerodynamics seriously or get left behind on the track. The Bullitt chase put a car on the big screen as the star of its own scene. Fast and Furious, The Italian Job, every film where a car is a character, all of it owes something to what a black 1968 Charger did on the streets of San Francisco. The Charger didn't just compete in the muscle car era. It wrote the rulebook: performance identity, aerodynamic engineering, pop culture presence. All of it came from a car Dodge nearly gave up on after 2 slow years in modest sales. That's what happens when a manufacturer refuses to accept a slow start. The Charger from 1966 to 1974 did not just sell, it rewired what American car culture thought a muscle car could be. Before you dismiss the first generation or overlook the third, know the full picture, because the famous version is never the whole story. Drop it in the comments: first gen, second gen, or Daytona. Which era put the Charger on the map for good? Leave your pick below. We read every single one.